Russia has criticised America's move to call an emergency UN Security Council session on Iran, where a week-long mass protest saw 21 people killed. Moscow says the UN shouldn't interfere in what it sees as a strictly internal issue. Caleb Maupin now takes a look at the international reaction to America's move.
Moscow has criticized Washington for promoting the protests in Iran, saying that they are meddling in Iran's internal affairs and trying to foment unrest. Now, over the past week, there have been protests in Iran, and we've heard leaders of the United States speaking about them and encouraging the protesters while accusing the government of Iran of tyranny.
Our administration will continue to support the protesters in their calls for freedom.
Washington intervenes in a grotesque way in Iran's internal affairs.
At this point, we've also heard from U.S. allies that have been quite critical of the way U.S. leaders have been responding to events in Iran. The president of France, for example, spoke up and said that this is an issue that Iranians need to handle among themselves. This is not something that international bodies should be intervening in.
Il y a aujourd'hui une crise.
This is a crisis taking place today in Iran.
En Iran.
We were right to think that change would not come from outside, but from the Iranian people. Our role in this matter is to be on the lookout, to be scrupulous, to ensure from where we stand that the Iranian people's rights are not trampled on.
The meeting is set to take place in a few hours, and as the international body gathers, as the 15 members of the body that leads the United Nations assemble, at this point we don't have a proposed resolution from the United States. So the world is watching New York at this point and wondering exactly what U.S. leaders will say. And it will be interesting also to see how the international community responds to the United States, which will be taking the floor at the UN Security Council to address the issue of protests in Iran.